apart from what other cool things Chris does, Chris has a boat. So quite some time, Chris spends on a boat. So tell us about that a little bit. Like, do you get to travel a lot?
Not really in the boat. I mean, the boat is kind of like good for if you want to experiment with getting off the grid.
Hmm.
If you want to, because part of as you part of my interest in history is how did people cope all those years ago? How did they cope without electricity, or how
Yeah.
did they without water? So you can get into that mindset
Mm.
once you decouple yourself in an environment where you need to think outside the box in order to get water and to get sunshine and to get heat and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So that's why I like it. I mean, but it can be extremely frustrating.
I can
Can be
imagine.
extremely because you've been constantly banging into things because of
Yeah,
the space. It's extremely frustrating.
because you have young kids as well now. So
And yeah, and they're always moving things around, and you
mhm.
also need to be good at DIY,
Yeah.
or you don't need to be good at it. We got to be prepared to learn about it.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're then at the mercy of tradespeople who may not be up to the job. Some of them are.
Have you had a chance to do archaeological or treasure hunting type of things in other countries? Where have you been?
And what the main thing I've done abroad, I mean, I've not taken a detector because
Mm.
generally the laws in the UK are quite liberal. They're quite,
Okay.
there's a lot of trust. Uh, there's a really good trust relationship between the authorities who um, govern the fines and the people who go out and find stuff.
By the
So,
way, sorry to
mm,
interrupt you, but
mm,
yeah, that's another thing I was going to ask you. That basically, tell me if you think this sounds right. But I was
mm,
reading that in this country, only about 5% of the treasure ever found has been found by professional archaeologists. 95% has been found by amateur hobbyists. So maybe that's another reason that there is that trust because we rely a lot on people going out and doing these things.
I mean, I don't know what the original driving factor for the portable antiquity scheme was, but I think that might have played a role in having. I mean, I don't know how many detectors there are active in the country. There must be at least 10,000. There's probably about 50,000 detectors out there,
Hmm.
probably more. And remember, so there's 10,000 people going out, or 5,000, even 1,000 every weekend scanning a field, compared to an excavation, which generally is underfunded. I mean, archaeology is very underfunded. It's usually only funded by construction companies and land developers. So there's not really a lot of compared to detecting. There's not really a lot of finding going on. There's not a lot of.
Mm.
I mean, it's kind of like a first level research, that first look into an area. So yeah, that's probably why there's 95% more.
Hmm.
I mean, and it's also with a detector. When you do an archaeological dig, you're scraping. A square 100 square meters you got with a trowel. You're not looking necessarily for metal. You're looking for pottery. You're looking for everything else.
Yeah.
Whereas a detector, you can go straight over it 100 square meters, and you could cover it in probably 2 hours. Not perfectly, but probably get 80% covered in 2 hours. Whereas to dig that down to a meter, it's probably looking about 2 months.
Hmm. Wow.
So it's the fine, the rate at which you can identify stuff.
Yeah.
Is it
So
that
yeah.
probably explains that?
So yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but
It's all right.
you're telling me about how this country has more liberal rules and comparing that with other places. So you were saying when you travel, you don't take your detector with you.
No, no, I mean, no, because I mean, there's a whole protocol to treasure hunting, or let's say prospecting. It's more like prospecting than it is treasure hunting,
Hmm.
in that sense. So the first thing to do is to know that you're allowed to go on there. And yet,
Yeah.
if I'm in India or
Yeah.
Thailand or
You may
in a
not
field
be
somewhere,
aware.
and there's some, you know, you don't know who it is, but
Hmm.
I still go there, and I'll go there, look at the site, look at its context, its environmental context, and try to understand it. So the last survey I did was of temples, Hindu temples in India,
Uh-huh.
and that was looking at the the context of where the temple was placed. And again, there's certain factors to it. There was one particular temple that was where apparently the reason why it was there was because when the sun rose between two mountains, and the ray of light shone on this particular point in the forest, and that's where they built the temple.
Huh.
So there's but you'd never find that you'd never realize that until you go there. So for me, it's not really about prospecting, it's more about understanding, the learning the
Chris, you should be advising governments and archaeological teams. You should be like an advisor, working with these people, because
I'd rather keep out of it. There's lots of people involved in that. That's not my, there's I think my place is to provide information, provide access. From the we both worked together at the National Archives for more than a decade, releasing data for people so that they could understand their own family history and get and understand their identity. So I still see that as my role. That's my role.
Very cool.
And then more of a technical person, and then also once you start to work with other people, then you've got responsibility. If you get something wrong, there's always going to be somebody that disagrees with you.
Yeah.
So I'd rather do that. What I enjoy doing.
By the way, I think that's why I think you're so good in what you do, because you have that historical context, knowledge, information, but also you're technically really good with scripts and.
Thank goodness. It's just amazing. Yeah, Perl is what I use. It's just a great language for reading text.
Yeah.
It makes it more interesting.
You're quite unique in that way, because I can't imagine there'll be lots of people out there with that kind of in their armory.
There will be, but there will be people who are technical, who love history, because a lot of people, a lot of metal detectorists have got their own websites, got really good websites, run forums.
Very true.
UK Metal Detector, they're always forums. But the additional thing that I've got is from working at the National Archives. One of the things I did was work on text. So I work with text every day.
Yeah.
So there's how do you find out what is a find? So I've written scripts to identify the different kinds of archaeological find. There's more than 500 of them, and like the different kinds of enclosures. So that has come from my work of 15 years at the National Archives, just understanding how to look at data and to dig into it and get something out of it, which is meaningful.
Amazing. I went to Syria many years ago, before all of these troubles started in Syria. It's so sad what's going on there. But it's amazing from an archaeological point of view. They have or at least at that time, they had Roman remains in better condition than anywhere in Europe. And it was so rich with history, that place.
Yeah, I remember when you went there, and before I met you, and about this, I think about 5 years before, I met a guy from Syria. He'd come over for a conference. And he was telling me, and I thought, oh my God, I've got to go to his place. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
The history, it's something you don't think about with Syria. You don't think about the Roman history.
Yeah, exactly.
And also you don't think about the Christian history as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's Christian forts there, Crusader forts and everything.
Yeah, but even apart from the conflict, just the history of Christianity has got a place in Syria, and both religions, was
It's very true.
Islam.
I think that's also why some countries are sensitive about people coming and with detectors and looking for things, because they want to understand that we can control our national treasures and it's not going to just get stolen from them.
Well, I think it's the same with the UK. People do come to the UK and do go on metal detecting rallies and do things, but they can't start taking things out of the country.
Yeah.
So we do have that level of protection. So if things are
that's
protected,
a good thing. And because in this country, because we have stronger border controls and customs and everything, whereas in a country like Syria, maybe they don't have that much confidence that if someone if they kind of open the fields up for people to come and do their own treasure hunting, whether they can still control that once they've found something and are trying to leave the country.
Well, but I mean, people are doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Regardless of what I do, is people go to Google Earth, Google Earth aerial views, and they look at they will scan over, for example, Egypt, and people have found previously unknown pyramids in Egypt. Just amateurs. I don't know whether they're treasure hunting or not, but
Yeah.
so there's a massive crowd who are doing this kind of thing already.
I guess that's the
All
thing,
around the world.
because information can't be contained, and if anything, is becoming more and more easily available, which is a good thing. But governments need to adapt. By the way, I need to take you to Pakistan one day. Have you heard about Taxila? It's one of the oldest Buddhist sites in the world along the Indus River. I have some family members working in NGOs over there. I think you'll love it.
I'd love to. I've got a friend who on the boats, and she works with farmers in Pakistan using renewable sources like solar, that kind of thing. So and just the idea of going over there.
Yeah,
and
we have to arrange it.
Let's do it.
Coordinate it. Yeah, we'll sail there together.
Sorry,
we can
sail.
I
think the boat goes 4 miles an hour, so it's going to take a long time.